Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about issue number 3 of Wolverine, written by Saladin Ahmed and art by Martin Coccolo. But before we dive into the story, I want to ask you a favor. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and a comment to help the channel grow. Now this issue opens with the real Wolverine going toe-to-toe with the Wendigo following where the last issue left off. So, as the two are engaged in a test of strength, we get a brief recap in the form of a narration from Wolverine, and it states 24 hours ago Logan was preparing to face the world, or at least his friend. Then he found a new problem that looked like an old enemy. Over the years, Logan had killed several men afflicted with the Wendigo curse in self-defense. But this time, there's a 16-year-old kid inside the monster. And the name of the unfortunate child was Leonardo. To make this worse, both Logan and the child just happened to become targets of a manhunt for the wilderness killer. Even though the person who was responsible for all of this was Cyber. And it was just their luck that Cyber was long gone. So, with heavily armed soldiers in hot pursuit of them both, Logan couldn't help but take responsibility for the kid, but just because he did that, didn't mean it wasn't a pain in his ass. Because when they first scrapped, the kid was tentative, hesitant, and scared. It was so obvious that Wolverine could sense the kid inside the monster, but now that it's had a taste of flesh and the smell of blood is in the air, the once little kid has become extremely aggressive. And with a mean swipe of his claws, Wolverine was lifted into the air and sent for a ride. And just as Logan recovered, to his dismay, the Wendigo took off, leaving Logan to give chase. But before Logan could cover any meaningful ground, a voice called out for help from behind him. And to Logan's surprise, the wounded man was still alive, and if Logan was being honest, he had forgotten about the man. So in an act of kindness, Logan went over to the man and looked him over. And during his examination, he discovered that the man's leg was hurt prior to the Wendigo's attack, and the smell of blood that came from it was what drove the kid into a frenzy. With that figured out, Wolverine came to an important observation, and that was, the kid was still fighting. Because at any point, the Wendigo could have finished him off, but it chose not to. Now with this good news on the table, Wolverine couldn't just allow the man's cut to fester, so he took a piece of his shirt and tied it tight around his leg to cut off the circulation to avoid having him bleed out. And then, to help avoid the spread of the curse, Logan then took his own blood and went to work. Because at this point, the only way to save the man's life and make sure he doesn't turn into a monster is for Logan to use his own. For Logan's mutant healing factor keeps him ticking, but using his own blood to heal others ain't exactly standardized medicine, so there is no guarantees that it will work, but it is the only shot the guy has. So Wolverine is hoping it will be enough to keep the man alive for a few more minutes since the soldiers' friends are almost there. Once they arrived, Wolverine sat in the cut and watched as the armed men flooded the area. Right when they were about to find their friend, out of nowhere, the Wendigo struck again. But this time the soldiers were ready, as they opened fire on the kid. But no matter how many times they fired, the Wendigo just kept coming. So with the shots going nowhere, Wolverine jumped out and tried to tell them to stop, but as you may have guessed, they weren't willing to listen. So with both Logan and the kid under fire, Wolverine couldn't help but commend the kid for the restraint that he was showing. Over the years, Wolverine had seen much older men just get overcome by the curse and lose all sense of themselves. With that said, Wolverine didn't want to push the kid's little control over the curse by popping his claws and spreading blood everywhere. So with this handicap on the table, Wolverine was forced to get creative. And like a squirrel claiming a tree, Logan was up there in no time, and after a few well-placed slashes, the snow came down in a white wave and swiped everyone away, with the soldiers dealt with for now. Logan then had to turn his attention towards the more pressing matter, which was the Wendigo at his back. But before Logan could get his head around, the kid had him by his throat, moving faster than Wolverine could have thought. This was worrying, because the kid was learning quickly. Now Wolverine's conscious mind knows that the Wendigo isn't in control of himself, but Wolverine's instincts only know one thing, so after a huge bite, the Wendigo lets go of our hero and leaves himself open for a brutal comeback. And after said slash, the kid snapped back to his senses and said no, please. And lucky for the kid, Wolverine pulled back and thought to himself how he had been to the blood-red edge of rage more times than he could count. In fact, at times, it's taken long days of meditation or telepathic interventions from the world's strongest psychics to bring him back, but sometimes all it takes is a couple of terrified words in a kid's voice. So with that said, Wolverine gets control of himself and switches up his tactics, for he was determined to get the kid out of there in one piece. Now this was easier said than done, because as we all know, Wolverine is 5'3" trying to choke out a man the size of the Hulk. And to no one's surprise, Wolverine did just that. So with the Wendigo out cold, Wolverine turns to see the last soldier sneaking up behind him. With Logan and the girl face to face, Wolverine attempted to talk reason into her, but unlucky for him, she opened fire anyway. And a shot found itself in Logan's leg, which sparked him to pop his claws and go on the attack, but instead of going for the girl, he went for her weapon and cut it out of her hands. And with all of his focus, Wolverine took a deep breath and forced himself to speak like a person, and said that he wasn't going to kill her. And then he went on to say, the person who killed the men was Silas Burr aka Cyber, and considering he is an agent, most likely he left some DNA behind they can trace back to him. And then Logan went on to say that Cyber also slaughtered a pack of wolves near to where they are currently at. And if she looks now, then she may be able to find the bullet casings left around. With the information given, Logan took hold of the kid and walked away. On the following morning, we pick up with Wolverine teaching the Wendigo how to regain some control of his rage. Now Logan teaches him the same lessons he learned himself. It was nothing fancy that would fix everything. He just told him to just remember how to breathe like a person. How to keep breathing until one makes it to tomorrow. Because sometimes, all one can ask is to see another sunrise. With that out of the way, following that on the last few pages, we see Puppet Cyber raising hell all over Kyoto, Japan. And as he massacred everyone before him, one of the dying men stated that he would never surrender his lady, right before he silenced him. So with bodies dropping left and right, a voice stated that she trained each of these men personally, but Cyber was able to cut them all down without breaking a sweat. So before she set out to kill him, all the mysterious woman wanted was to know what Cyber wanted. And out of the shadows, Lady Deathstrike jumped into action and went on the attack. Now this battle was furious, but unfortunately, the golden entity in control of Cyber was just too unknown to predict. And once it touched her, the fight was over and she was the newest threat on the table. With Lady Deathstrike down, we get a narration saying, it has silenced the screeching of more false metals, and now it must rest. But it grows stronger with each unworthy scrap of adamantium it purifies and reclaims. And soon it will be strong enough to silence it all. And with that said, this issue of Wolverine comes to an end. Now down in the comment section below, let me know your thoughts about this issue and what predictions you could have moving forward. So with that established, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to leave a like and a comment if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.